If you've ever asked a software company how much a mobile app will cost, you've probably gotten one of two answers. Either a number so low it made you suspicious, or a range so wide it was completely useless. Anywhere from $10,000 to $500,000. Thanks, that really helps. I'm Edwin, I work at Rocksoft and pricing projects is literally part of my job. In this video, I want to give you an honest answer to that question. Not a range that covers everything, an actual way to think about cost, so we can walk into any conversation with a developer and know what you're talking about. Let me start with why this question is so hard to answer. A mobile app is not one thing. It's 100 different decisions and each one affects the price. iOS or Android or both. Does it work offline? Does it connect to your existing systems? Does it have user accounts, push notifications, payments? Is there an admin panel on the web? How complex is the backend? Every yes adds time. Every we're not sure yet adds risk. And here's the thing most people don't realize. The biggest driver of cost isn't the features you choose. It's how well those features are defined before development starts. Vague feature costs twice as much as a clear one because the developer has to figure out what you actually want while they're building it. And that takes time. Your time and their time. So let me walk you through the main things that drive costs. These are the questions I ask every client before I give them a number. First, scope. What does the app actually need to do? There's a big difference between a simple tool that does one thing well and a platform with multiple user types, complex workflows and integrations. The mistake most people make is trying to build everything at once. We think about it in three stages: MVP, MLP and MSP. I actually did a whole video explaining what each of those means. It's linked here in the corner. But quickly, MVP is your bare minimum, just enough to test if the idea works at all. MLP is when you make it good enough that people actually enjoy using it. MSP is when it's ready to sell or scale properly. Most people come to us wanting to build the MSP straight away. But if you haven't validated the idea yet, you're paying for something you might need to rebuild completely. Start with MVP. It's almost always cheaper than you think and faster to ship. Second, platform. iOS, Android, or both. Native apps built separately for iOS and Android give you the best performance, but costs roughly double because you're building twice. Cross-platform, React Native, Flutter, or just using a wrapper framework for web apps lets you share most of the code. Faster, cheaper, and for most business apps, the difference in quality is not noticeable to the user. We use cross-platform for most of our projects. But there are cases where native makes sense, and that's a conversation worth having before you decide. Third, integrations. Does your app need to talk to other systems? Connecting to existing ERP, CRM, payment gateway, or third-party API can easily add weeks to a project, sometimes months. This is also one of the most common surprises in projects. A client thinks it's a small thing, just connect it to our system. But that system, for example, has no proper API, the documentation is outdated, or it needs custom middleware. We always check integrations early, before we price anything. And then there's AI, which is the question everyone is asking in 2026. Yes, AI has changed how we build apps. We use it in our own development process. It helps us move faster and we're not going back, definitely. But AI features in the app itself. Things like recommendations, conversation, image recognition, those make it complicated. The model needs to be trained or integrated. The responses need to be accurate and safe. Edge cases multiply fast. AI can also reduce cost in some areas, generating content, automating repetitive logic, but it's not a shortcut to building something complex. Or, okay, it is, but you definitely don't want to sacrifice security. If someone tells you AI will cut your app cost in half, ask them to explain how. Okay, so let's talk numbers. I'm going to give you ranges. Not because I'm being vague, but because these genuinely depend on the decisions we just talked about. We use these as a starting point, not a budget. A simple MVP, one platform, core features, no complex integrations, typically starts around $5,000 to $15,000. A full-featured app with a backend, user accounts, some integrations, you're looking at $25,000 to $80,000. And anything more complex than that, multiple platforms, AI features, heavy integrations, goes beyond that. Those are real numbers from real projects, not made-up ranges to sound reasonable. And here's something important. These are ranges for a defined scope. If your scope isn't defined, any number I give you is just a guess. The most expensive thing you can do is start building before you know what you're building. Because every change mid-project costs 3 times what it would have cost upfront. So how do you actually get a real number for your project? Step 1, define what you're building. 1 sentence. This app helps who do what so that what outcome. If you can't write that sentence, you're not ready for a quote yet. Step 2, list your features and split them into version 1 and version 2, for example. Be ruthless. Version 1 is what the user needs on day 1, nothing else. Step 3, identify your integrations. What existing systems does this need to connect to? Talk to whoever manages those systems before you talk to a developer. And step 4, take that to a developer and ask for a price on a defined scope. Not a range, a number. If they won't give you one, the scope isn't defined enough yet. Do those 4 things and you'll get a real quote. At Rocksoft, we have a process for it. We call it Discovery Workshop. It's a planning session combined with hours of analysis that gives you a blueprint for what you want to build. With this, you'll be able to compare quotes from different companies because you're comparing the same thing. That's genuinely how you get a real number. And it works whether you build with us or anyone else. If you have questions about your specific project, drop them in the comments. We read everything and we'll do our best to answer. And if you found this useful, like and subscribe for more. More videos coming soon.